Okay, I'm here in Blender and we are going to make this cool robot. So just select everything and delete it. Press X. And then the first thing we need to do is we need to bring in references. So I'm just going to change this collection number name to references. And then make sure that you're on front view. Just press Shift A and go to image reference and then just get your reference image for the front. Okay, and then just press G and let's just bring it up so the feet are more or less there on the world origin. Then we can just go into the where it says data here and just go to opacity and bring it down. Let's make it 0.3 and click on this one, press F2 and call this one front. I'm shouting today because everything's on caps locks, but that's fine. Okay, and then Shift D to duplicate this and then press R, Z, 90. And then now we've got this on the side view. So just press G, Y, and no, sorry, G, X, and just move it out of the way there. And then with this one, the front one selected, just double click and then call this one side. And then just go here, open image, and then just choose the side one. Okay, so let's just go to 3 to see what we've got here. So we're just gonna, I think, run about there, that's fine. And then let's see what we've got. I can actually just take this one back. So GY to take this one back. And this is basically our reference setup. Now we can start modeling. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go up here and where it says selectable, I'm going to select that and then just make sure that we can't select our references. With scene collection selected, I'm just going to right click, make a new collection, and then this new collection, I'm going to call this blockout. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to block out the basic shapes. That's how you always work with modeling, sculpting, and even animation. You always start with the broad strokes with the block out to get the basic geometry down, and then you refine it. So if you look at these things like all these details, we're not going to do that now. We're just going to get very, very rough shapes and then just do a block out. So let's start with the block out. So make sure you've got this one selected, because if I got that one selected, it's going to create an object inside the references, and we don't want that. So just press numpad 1 and Shift A. Let's start with a head, and I'm just going to create a cube and then G, Z, move it up. And you might ask yourself, why don't I use a sphere for the head? And that's a good question. And the reason why that is I don't really like the geometry of spheres. You'll see now, if I press Control 2, it'll create a subdivision. If you look at the geometry there, this is all perfect geometry, all perfect quads, and that's very nice to work with. If I go here to Shift A and I create a sphere, you can see, if you look at the geometry here, it's got these ugly poles and it's stretched, and it's just generally not a good idea to create heads with spheres. So I'm just going to delete that. So that's our head. So I'm just going to make it a bit smaller. Just press S and round about there. That should be fine for now. Okay, and then a very good habit to get into. Whenever you make your geometry smaller when you're in object mode, always go to Control A and then apply scale. Because if you don't do that, we're going to run into problems later. If you do it in edit mode, it's fine, but always very, very good habit to have. One of the best Blender habits is always just as a matter of muscle memory, whenever you scale something, immediately apply Control A, apply scale. Okay, so now that's the head. Okay, let's add the neck. So basically for the neck, I'm just going to go to the side view. What you want here is you want this very subtle undulating S curve like this. Something like this. Because this robot is quite feminine. If a robot can have a sex, which I don't know, but it is quite a feminine design. So I want to go for this sort of undulating, this S shape in the spine. So I'm going to press 1, and I'm just going to go here, press Shift A, and we just add a cylinder with 16. Make sure you've got 16, because 32 is a bit overkill, and just scale it down. GZ, bring it up, and then SZ just to scale it, and then let's go to the side and just bring it over here and just rotate it just slightly, or you can rotate it. I wonder what actually rotated this way. This should actually be this way, and then just bring it up. So that's basically the neck. And remember, Control A, apply scale. Always do that. If you take anything away from this video, it's always apply control scale. Okay, let's move on to the chest. Shift A, start with a cube again. I think pretty much everything's going to be cubes. And just scale it down. And then GZ and SZ. GZ up again, and let's go 3 SY to make it a bit narrower, and then rotate it like so, and then bring it up, and let's see what I think that is fine. Let's actually work on this a bit. And Control A, apply the scale. I'm going to add a subdivision surface level 2. And now everything goes like that, but that's fine. So just tab into edit mode. And the first thing we're going to do is Control R to add a loop cut in the middle here. And then the second thing we're going to do is Control R to add a loop cut up here. So now we've got the basic shape. Press Z2 so we can go into wireframe mode, so we can maybe see this a bit better. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? Press Z2 again so it's solid. I'm actually going to bring up another tab here so we can have a look at our image here. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to just click here and then say horizontal split. And I'm just going to split this up here. And then go up here where you see this little icon here, make it an image editor, and then go here, open, and then just select this 3/4 view one. So now we can, I think we can see what to do here. Okay, so let's tab into edit mode. Okay, so immediately I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to press Z2 again. And then I'm just going to select these verts here. So if you press Z2, you can select all the verts. If it's in solid mode, you can only select the ones in front. So we want to select all of them. We press X, delete vertices. And now if I press Z2 again, you can see we've only got half here, but that's fine. We're going to go to this range here, the tool range. Or actually, no, sorry, the modifiers, the tool there. And then just add generate a mirror, because we want to add a mirror modifier. So now we only have to do work on the one side. And then make sure you've got clipping enabled, and then go to the front view. And now we can just maybe, with these selected, GZ, bring it up actually, no, let's add another loop cut here. And then Z2 to make everything transparent, or X-ray view, and so select these verts. Once they selected, press Z2 again so we can see what we're doing, and then G, Z, and then just bring it up like that, and let's see what we've got. I think that shape is fine. It's fine. With this one, we can maybe bring this one down a bit. So I'm going to select the edge. So just let me just talk about edges, vertices, and faces. You will learn in good time when to use which one. Sometimes you want to use faces, sometimes you want to use edges, and sometimes you want to use vertices to edit your geometry. And if you understand when to use which one, you will go a long way with that. But in this instance, I want to bring this whole shape down. So I've just selected the edge. So I'm just going to press G, Z, and just make it something like that. And maybe let's bring in another loop cut here. And then what would happen if I take this one and G, Z, bring this one down a bit as well. I think that's fine. That shape is fine for now. Let's not get too bogged down in the details. So that's our chest. So let's actually name these guys. So select your head, press F2 and call it head. And then select your neck, F2, call it neck. And let's call this one F2 chest. Okay. So now let's create this midsection here. So yet again, mesh, create a cube, and then bring it up here, G, Z. So it's nice if you press GZ, then you know everything is in the center of the world. GZ again. And then let's go to the side. I think SY to make it a bit narrower, just slightly. And now I want to rotate it. And I'm going to press G just to move it. And maybe SZ to make it a bit taller. Let's see what it looks like from the front. That is fine for now. And I think this one basically goes out a bit. It almost, so what is now you'll see, now I'm going to select the face. And I've got the face selected because I actually want to make it a bit wider here, but I only want to do that on the on the X axis. So the way you do that is press S and then X, and it will only make it wider, because then it's going to give that sort of feminine shape. And maybe the top, I want to bring it in a bit. So, but we can't see that, but that's just not a problem. What we do, this is one of my favorite hotkeys in Blender, is just a slash on your numpad, and then it solos this. And now I can select this geometry and press slash again, and then we bring everything back. But now we've got that selected, and we can just maybe just a little bit bring it in like that. Okay, so let's call this one, then let's call it middle. Okay, let's create this section here, this sort of torso section. So I'm going to go to 1, numpad, and then Shift A, mesh, cube, G, Z, and then S to make it a bit smaller, and then G, Z. I'm going to bring it up here, and then 3, and then SY to make it narrower, and then let me go to the front, it's still way too big here, SZ, and then GZ. You'll get used to these keys, and then this one R from the side view, just bring it around like that, and that's the basics of this section. I'm just going to leave it like that for now. We'll work on the details later. So let's move on. So the next section, let's do the arms. So for the arms, what we can do for the arms is we can just go here to the side, and there's two ways of doing it. I'm going to show you the first. I'm going to show you a cool trick now. So select this one and then go to face mode and then press 3 and then press Shift S and then cursor to select it, which is 2. And then our cursor would be there. Now if I create new geometry, it's going to originate from that spot. So mesh cube, make it S, make it small, and then Control 2, and then maybe just make it a bit bigger. Let's go to the front. Okay, that's fine. So now I've got the roundings for the arm. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to apply this modifier. It's actually set to 3, so I'm just going to make it 2. And then I'm just going to apply it. So the way you apply a subdivision modifier is you can either apply it, you just go to the right here under this modifier's wrench icon and just hit apply, or hover over it and say Control A, then it's applied. Okay, always you work with the shortcuts. Okay, now I want to extrude this geometry here. So how do we do that? So we can go into solo by slash, and then you actually need an add-on, but don't worry, it's free. So go to edit, preferences, and then make sure go and look for an add-on called loop tools. It is basically with a standard blender, you just need to activate it. So just activate loop tools, and then another add-on we're going to use is called copy attribute. So copy attributes menu. So make sure you've got those two add-ons installed. Okay. So let's go into this. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go press 1. Then I'm just going to select a vertex there in the middle of the circle, of the sphere. And then now, if I press Control plus, it grows my selection. Like that, Control plus. If I press Control minus, it makes it smaller. So I use it on the numpad. Okay, now with these 4 selected, now you can right click and with loop tool selected, make circle. And now we've got a nice circle. I'm just going to maybe scale it up a little bit. And then press I to inset. So we've got a nice loop around there. And then let's see, go to 1. And then press E to extrude. So extrude just a little bit. And then extrude a long bit. Because let me show you why. So we're going to put this into a subdivision surface modifier. Control 2. And you'll see this is very rounded, but this is it's got some, the definition here is much better. It's because I put these loop cuts. If you put a loop cut close to another one, it creates a sharper edge. And that's why I do that. We don't need that now because we're still going to extend that. So and then I'll show you another cool trick. I want this flattened. So the easiest way to do that is, this is in the X direction. So press X with that geometry selected and 0. And then it flattens it for us. So G, X. Okay, let's bring everything else back with a slash. And maybe G, X. And now E, X just a little bit, and then it gives us a nice sharp edge there. And then now in front view, press R, and then just bring this down. Let's sort out the proportion now. I'm just going to bring this one up a bit, G, and then press R again. And then now I want to mirror this over to the other side. So let's add a modifier, generate, mirror, but now it's mirroring it like that. So what we need now, we need to select an object. So mirror object, select this, and now it's mirroring perfectly on that side. So that's basically our arms. And then now let's just, I'll show you another trick. So shift, right click, and then we can put the cursor here. And then shift A. We're going to make the forearms now. Just press S. And I'm just going to do a rough block out of this, and then just press R. And I'm just going to save again, Control S. So the two things that I do most often when I'm modeling in Blender is save and reset my sizes. So let's just reset the sizes as well. So A, Control A, apply scale. So that's very important. I'm probably going to say this 20 more times, but that's okay. Okay, so go to 1 and let's just tab into this. Let's just create the basic geometry of this. So I'm going to go to 3 and select this, and then go to 1, and I'm going to press G. Press G to just basically, and then S, and then E to extrude this. And then if you've got, make sure you've got this line to extrude it along the axis of this object. And then S, scale it a bit in, and then E again, and then S. Okay, let's continue here. So I'm gonna go on to, let's create the hand. So I'm gonna show you another cool trick. So tab into edit mode here, and then with this one selected, press Shift S, and then 2, cursor to selected. Now we've put the cursor here, and this is pretty cool. So now if I create new geometry, it's going to be exactly in that spot. So let's create another cube, scale it down, and go to front view, press R, S, Z to make it longer. Go to the side view, and then I'm going to tab into edit mode, and I'm just going to SY to scale the hand a bit bigger like that, and then maybe tab in again, select everything, and then in front view SX, oh no, okay, that's not worked, that SX, so in object mode SX, just to make this a bit thinner. And then Control A, apply scale. Okay, the fingers. Okay, let's just copy this modifier over. So with this one selected, Shift select that one, Control C, copy selected modifier as mirror. Okay, we've got the mirror over here. And now we can just maybe, should we add the fingers now? Yes, let's do that. So for the fingers, I'm going to do something else. I'm going to go add a cube, tab into edit mode, press 1 with everything selected, press M, merge at center. So now we've only got one vertex, and that's fine. So if I go to front view, press 1, I could just move this, or see if I can move this there. Okay, there's just trying to find our vertex. There it is over there. And then E, and then I can extrude it, and then E again. And then now I'm going to add a modifier. I'm going to add a generate skin modifier, and now it looks big, but that's fine. So just select this and press Control A to apply the scale. Go into tab, press Z2 so we can see the transparency. And press Control A. I know this is confusing because we already used Control A for something else, but press Control A to bring it down. And you can select if you want to make the base a bit thicker. We can press Control A and make it a bit thicker, and then maybe make it a bit thinner here. Press G, and if you want to add another vertex in the middle, you can just right click and say subdivide. So let's do we'll select these two and then subdivide, right click subdivide. And then this one, I'm just going to pull this one back GX ever so slightly. And then this one, Control A, make it a bit smaller. And then Control 1 just to put a subdivision. And Z2 so we can see everything. And then I'm just going to scale this up. Okay, you see there's a problem now. Our pivot point is there, so we want to put the origin to the geometry, so we're not scaling from there. So what we can do, just right click and then say set origin to geometry. So now now it scales from the middle, which is great. Okay, then go to 3 and then just put this finger here. Go to 1 again, just sort of put it in there. 3, and then maybe just Shift D, copy it. And this is the pinky, so this one's a bit smaller. And then just create with Shift D, create another one. Maybe we must make them a bit smaller. So I'm just going to select all of them, make them a bit smaller so we can fit another finger in there. We'll fix all of this later. And then Shift D. And then this one should be a bit bigger because this is the middle finger. Just moving them into place. I'll select all of them and then just scale them down slightly until we've got something like this. They're a bit short. Actually, I'm going to tab into the hand and I'm going to select this vert here and I'm just going to press G just to slide it up. And then I'm going to add another loop in the middle here. And I'm going to select only this one and then just slide it in so we create a sort of a palm. I know this is a robot, so it's not an organic character, but still we can use that. And then now I can select all of these fingers. Maybe just G, push them up again a bit, and then select this one. And then C, copy selected modifiers, mirror. Now they're all mirrored over to the other side. Now we just need a thumb. We go to 1 or 3, Shift D, and R. Let's see. I'm going to bring it over here a bit. 3, so we in side view, and then go to 1 front view, and then maybe I think that's fine for now. So that's basically our hand done. Actually, this I want to make it a bit thinner, so I'm just going to select these two faces and G, Z, move them up a bit, and then just G, free move them. Okay, that's better. Yeah, it's much better. And save, and yeah. Okay, now for the last bit of the block out, the legs. I'm just going to go in here into the hips, and I'm just going to select the bottom with 3 and then just say S, X, just want to scale it a bit. And now what we can do is go into front view and we can just copy this. So Shift D and just bring it over here. And then now we want to clear the rotation. So press N, and then you see the rotation here, the one we want to make it 90 here on Y, and then we can, okay, and then I might want to scale this up a bit. So I think the leg should be a bit bigger, and then I'm just going to put this here. And I think that's fine for the top legs. And then now let's have a look at the bottom legs. The bottom legs, they're a bit more complicated. So I'm just going to press Shift. If you press Shift C, you put your cursor back to the world origin. And I'm going to create another cube here. And I'm just going to make it smaller. So I'm just going to sort of bring this out here now. So go to side, or go to front view first. And then bring this over here. And then go to side view, and let's tab into edit mode. Maybe press Z2 so we can see wireframe mode, and let's try and shape this. So I select these two, bring them up here, and then this one. I'm just going to bring this over here, and then extrude this, extrude it about halfway. You'll see what we do now, and extrude it again. And then this one here, we bring this in, sort of follow that line. Okay, let's bring this up here. And this one follows that line. That one follows that line. That one follows that line. And select both of these. And then extrude them. Bring the scale down, and G and Z2 for solid view again, and let's see what we've got. Go to 1, okay, and then now we're gonna just shape it a bit from the front as well. So Z2 again, and now we just need to bring these in here. Bring these in. I don't know if for the original if I actually mirrored it or not, but this is fine. We can work with this. Z2 again. Okay, and that's fine for the legs for now. Just gonna maybe bring this back a bit. G, Y. And let's Control C, copy selected modifiers, mirror it over. Okay, so now we've got this, and we need another circle there, but we can work on that later. And then the last thing we need to do is basically just the feet. So Shift A, mesh, cube, scale it down, go to the front view, go to the side view, S, everything selected, S, Y, make it a bit bigger, G, and then let me just see here. We can just keep it like this for now, and then copy this modifier over. So let's maybe just work on this a bit. So Control 2 to add a subdivision surface, and then all I'm going to do is I'm going to add a loop cut here, so that the loop cut there is going to make this part a bit straighter, and then add a loop cut at the bottom, and then Z2 for wireframe, and maybe just pull this out a bit, and maybe Z pull this down a bit, Z2 to go back to full view, and that should be fine. I think we're good to go. I think now we can start. We've got our basic block out. I know it's still looking very crude, but from here we can actually go and just add all the details and make it look nicer.